Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Community Chats. We are so excited to be back with you today. My name is Erin Oath. I am a project manager in the Office of Community Engagement at the University of Mississippi. I'm joined today by my colleague Jody Holland from Loft, and we're here, as always, for these regular conversations with individuals in the Lafayette-Oxford University community who are working hard to make a positive difference in our region. Community Chats broadcast on Facebook on Wednesdays and Fridays from noon to around 12:30. You can also find us on YouTube and Spotify or your other favorite podcast player. Our goal through this series is to elevate community leaders in our region, allow them to tell their story, who they are, how they came to be involved in the work they do, and also how you can be involved in the work that they're doing. We want to hear what their future, what their dreams are, and celebrate the good work that they're doing. So if you would like to be interviewed on the show, if you know someone we should talk to, please let us know. You can drop us a comment on any of our social media pages, or you can also email us at engaged@olemiss.edu. So Community Chats is an initiative of the Office of Community Engagement and Loft. And Loft, as you may know by now, is currently doing their Night for Nonprofit series as well. So we want to draw your attention to that going on this week and ask that you chime in, contribute, support our different nonprofits here in our community. Today, we have the honor and privilege of being joined by Alice Pierotti from Thacker Mountain Radio. We are so delighted to have you on the show today, Alice. Welcome.
Thank you, Erin. I'm glad to be here. Hi, Jody.
Hello, hello.
Well, we are excited to have you. So would you just start off by telling us a little bit about who you are and how you came to be here in Lafayette, Oxford?
Sure. I'm a native Mississippian, but I moved away to Colorado when I was 19 and stayed there about 17 years. So you can do the math on that. But I returned to Mississippi in 2009 and took a job at the Como Library. So I was a community librarian here in Como, where I still live, for about 9 years. And last August was hired as the executive director producer of Thacker Mountain Radio. My first day on the job was almost this time last year on a road trip to Ocean Springs, broadcasting the show from the beautiful Mary C. So it's very hard to conceptualize, oh man, that's some memories, live performances, and what that felt like, getting in a van with the band and crew and heading down to Ocean Springs. We're a world away from that now today, but I'm glad to be here in this new format and still being able to talk to great folks like you who are helping support the Oxford community.
Well, Alice, I'm going to ask a few questions as we get through this process. And I met you last year, and I'm a huge fan of Thacker Mountain and what you do for this community in this region, in this state, multiple states now. How did you get to land this position? How did you learn about Thacker Mountain and moving into that position?
I've always been a Thacker supporter. From a distance, before it had to be from Colorado. When I moved back to Mississippi, I attended as many shows. The library didn't close till 6 o'clock, and it was hard for me to get over to Oxford in time for the show, but I remained a supporter and would always attend events when I could. I've been going to Square Books for a long, long time, and it was sort of my anchor when I would come back to the community. And when Jamie Cornegie was writing the Dear Reader a long time ago, it would be the thing that I opened my mailbox and was the most excited about, because it kept me connected to literature and just the culture of Oxford and the culture of Mississippi. And that's something I was experiencing, homesick for a little bit from time to time in Colorado. So coming back, I guess wanted to find ways to contribute to rural Mississippi. I came back to Mississippi and made that a conscious decision, as an adult, for a reason. And that reason has remained the same. I've always been very embedded in music and literature, as you can tell from the work that I've done in the community. But Thacker Mountain Radio especially it's like a dream job for me. It puts all the things that I love and actually allows me to get paid for. And yeah.
Thanks.
Wow, I love it. And it's such an important part of the arts and culture here in Oxford and beyond.
Right.
So for people that may not be familiar with Thacker Mountain, maybe there are people watching or listening that have just never heard of it. Can you tell them a little bit about it?
Sure. We're an old time radio show. We've been doing Thacker Mountain for 22 years, since 1997. It started with a concept between a bookseller and a couple of artists, which, all great pieces of art do. They start with an idea about engaging other people and letting people tell their story. So we've been producing the show live for 22 years now and looking forward to our future. We also are a radio show. So we broadcast across Mississippi Public Radio and Mississippi Public Broadcasting, Alabama Public Radio are looking to grow those listeners. We're a free show. When we can, we're live from the Square, either at Off Square Books or the Lyric. 24 shows, free shows a season or a year. That's 12 in the spring and 12 in the fall. And then you'll see us pop up other places to help engage audiences around the state or the Double Decker Festival and all of that. We're still on the radio every week, 52 weeks a year.
And Thacker Jr. is one of the most fun experiences I have been a part of.
Thacker Jr. really packs the crowd in. And that was a model that started, Catherine York started that. And Kate Teague did a lot of work to cultivate that as well. And we love Thacker Jr. Yeah, the last Thacker Jr., the staff and crew of Big Thacker were standing in the back just admiring the audience and saying, well, we wish we could pull in a crowd like this. So we do that right at Ole Miss and do that once a year. So we're hoping to find new ways to continue that on in the spring and beyond.
Well, so I can remember the first time when I moved here 10 years ago and I went to Thacker Mountain and sat down. I was like, wow, this is right here in Mississippi and it's in Oxford, such a unique opportunity to be introduced to music and literature. And, I know some of the board members and you just spoke the names of your past executive directors and you guys always have strong leadership. Can you tell us about your staff and what they do and how they serve the organization?
Yeah, and we do have a great board of directors that is pivoting in this environment. Like I knew they were fantastic, but their dedication through the pandemic specifically has just blown me away. Whenever I feel like I, as a leader for a nonprofit in today's climate, maybe can't go on, I just think about what they're doing at that particular moment to support Thacker, and it allows me to sort of recenter myself. But yeah, we have a staff of, we're a band. Our Yellow Bushwhackers are a band of 4 led by the infamous Paul Tate up front on guitar. Mark Yagavon's been with the Yellow Bushwhackers for about 10 years, probably longer. I'd have to add that up. He's on keys, Slade Lewis on bass. He started when Yellow Bushwhackers became the house band for Thacker. He was in that initial band. And then Ricky Burkhead on drums. So got Jim Dees as the host. He's been the longtime radio host and really gets the crowd engaged and has them keep coming back. And then sound engineers Jeffrey Reed, who's fantastic and has pivoted during this by allowing us to come into his studio and keep producing the shows. And Devin Rossetti is our front of house tech. So he's just had a Corona baby right before Corona. So he's been at home with a baby to care for and been helping us keep these new radio shows that we've gotten some money to produce on the air and look into ways to engage him remotely in the fall as well.
Yeah. Well, Alice, you've already talked a little bit about the programs that you have going on, but you mentioned before we got started, you also have a fundraising campaign going on right now. Would you like to share a little bit about it and how people can get involved?
Sure. So we launched a campaign about 8 weeks ago. We'll be in week 9 next week. And Claire Byrne, our assistant director, and I are sort of spearheading how we funnel that out. Thacker's raised over 20 grand so far. We've put a goal of 25,000 to help us keep producing fall radio shows, and we're almost there. Claire and I have our tables full of mailers right now that we're mailing out for our final push for solicitations. So thanks, Thacker. You can donate from our website. Our website is thackermountain.com, and there's a donate button right at the top. You can click on there and push us over our goal, hopefully.
That's good. Yeah, I'm getting those emails, so I know you guys are staying on top of
Oh,
that.
good.
Yeah, yeah. Well, look, what are some of the greatest challenges that you're experiencing in the nonprofit while you serve our community, either in this moment in the day-to-day operations, in this untimely season with COVID, or just in a regular time before this started? What are some of your greatest challenges?
Some of our greatest challenges with COVID have been figuring out ways to pivot and keep the radio show going. I'll tell you a couple of stories. Jim Dees has a flip phone. He operates on a flip phone in 2020, and I guess he's never found really the romance from the glow of the screen, but now he's had a chance to pivot and learn how to Zoom and create video content on his own from his backyard that help us fundraise. We have already been, as an organization, working remotely. It's in some of our strategic planning language that we were doing remote work before it was a thing. Because we're on the radio, we're everywhere. And so our physical live shows come to you from the Square at Off Square Books or at the Lyric, because those buildings and those wonderful business owners open their doors up to us and allow us to be there. So we can go anywhere, though. We're a radio show. It's figuring out how to pivot with staff and all of that has been, you know, a challenge that I don't think anybody, even with emergency preparedness planning, could have anticipated this. So we've got a volunteer board of 15 members, and I can say that we all know how to Zoom now, and we all know how to sort of change up our communication styles to get around that COVID fatigue and trying to keep everybody motivated. So that's been the biggest challenge as in my role.
Thank you. Yeah.
So Alice, we don't have to hear you talk long to see your love for this kind of work show through. So what motivates you? What drives you and keeps you going in tough times?
Rural Mississippi. You know, I'm back here for a reason. I know why I wake up in the morning. Arts and culture, celebrating our story and making sure the world has access to it. That's what I'm all about. So everything I've ever done and every job I've ever had has been to support that kind of work. I believe in rural Mississippi. I believe our books and our songs and all that are unmatched in the world, and I want the world to know about it.
Well, you guys are doing important work in our community and in the region. And, you know, what would you tell our community or individuals? How can they contribute to your organization?
We're in a fundraising campaign right now. We're about on week 9. And about the last 2 weeks for the big push of Thanks Thacker. So you can go to our website, thackermountain.com, and click on the top right button, donate, and donate now and get us to our goal to keep the show going for the fall season. We're almost there. We've raised over $20,000 in that amount of time. And that's, you know, we've had donors donate twice to the campaign. We've had donors that we didn't know even existed send us money, join as members, and all of that. So we try to count our the roses with the thorns, I guess, so to speak. But we get a lot of encouragement from the folks out there that love the show and want to see it keep going. And we're almost to our goal of $25,000. So we're going to get there.
Well, and the shameless plug, there's $1,000 up for grabs on the Night for Nonprofits if your viewers
yes.
like videos.
We already have our board members on it with another, you know, the multiple, you know, third time to get somebody's attention in Corona. We've thrice asked them to go ahead and click on that habitually all day. So yeah, we're in the race for sure.
Good. Great.
Yeah.
Well, Alice, we call this our 1 minute moment, and we just want to give you 1 minute to share any message. What do you most want to say to our audience today, people listening in the Lafayette Oxford community and beyond?
Hang on. We're going to get through this, and we're going to figure out creative ways to get through it. So if you get disillusioned, we have a SoundCloud archive of our shows for the past several years on our website. And I've had to go there several times in my dark moments during COVID. And I encourage you to go there too, because we're there to be a reflection of the arts and the literature and the music and everything that is good about the South. So remember that and hang on.
Great.
Well, this has been such a rich and enjoyable conversation. So thank you so much, Alice, for being with us today. It is always a delight to visit with you, to hear more about what's going on with Thacker, and to tune in and to listen to the show to celebrate the arts and culture of this area.
Thanks, Jody.
Thank you.
Thank you to all of you for tuning in. Up next, we have Joshua Tucker, one of our talented graduate students from the university, who will be sharing with us about the COVID-19 Ambassador Program, C19 as it's called, that is launching with the start of the new semester. So you won't want to miss that conversation. And in the meantime, please like, comment, share, pass along these conversations. We really want to elevate these voices and celebrate the good work going on in our community. In the meantime, stay safe, stay engaged, and we'll see you next time on Community Chats.
Bye, everyone.